My name is Kudzia, and I am a digital scholarship technology librarian at Michigan State University. And I'm here as an ILiADS expert, and so I'm a librarian, and I'm also technically kind of a generalist. I work with an ILiADS instance, so I have to do for that some light metadata work, web development, and then I also do things like Git for version control. What else have people been asking me for help on? I have a lot of experience working with digital projects, helping people build digital projects and figure out like a sustainability plan for them. So I've been doing some of that as well. Basically, usually if like I don't do TEI and I don't do GIS very well, and there's a few other things, but mostly I can at least probably get you started. Oh, Python programming. I do Python programming.
Excellent. So what are some of the DH offerings, I guess, at your home institution? Is
Sure.
there an infrastructure there for DH to exist? Is it incorporated into the curriculum?
That's a good question. So I sort of like grew up professionally in the liberal arts, in a liberal arts institution. I'm relatively new to Michigan State, and it's way bigger. So I'm actually still getting my bearings on what all the offerings are. I think it's on a course-by-course basis, whether there's DH integrated or not. I do understand there are some courses, especially in the College of Arts and Letters, and I think history and anthropology, they have some courses where there's integrated DH. But beyond that, it's still something I'm trying to find out who can tell me the answers to those questions. In terms of the DH model at Michigan State, it's sort of distributed. So there's different like nodes around campus, and they all provide something a little bit distinct. And one of those nodes is the library. And so often what we do is consult with faculty, often who are interested in either introducing their students to DH, in teaching a specific DH-related skill that someone in the library is good at, or if they have their own research that they're working on and they need help figuring out how to do data visualization or topic modeling or whatever. We have librarians, myself included, who have skills in those areas and who consult with faculty to work through that. And it's a teaching model, so it's service, but it's a service of like, let us help you do it and help show you how to do it and help you think about how you're going to sustain it, as opposed to you drop off your stuff and we do a thing and then you come pick it up when it's done kind of model. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, very well, I think. Has your experience at ILiADS, as an expert, as someone who's brought on to these various projects and, having conversations with a bunch of other people involved in DH, has that given you ideas for things that you would like to see happen with your own model of DH? Different trajectories, areas it might develop, things that it could do better or that ILiADS itself could do better? Is there kind of an interaction there?
That's really interesting. I do think, the first thing I guess I would say is that it's been really inspiring to be here. Basically, I was talking with some of the experts the other night, and it seems like most of us are having the same experience in the sense of like, oh, what projects like did you work on today? And someone will say like, oh, I worked with this team, and everyone's like, oh, their project seems so cool. I wanted to work with that team. And then they'll be like, what did you work on? And I'll say like, oh, I worked with this other team, and like, oh, their project seems so cool. Like, I don't think there's a project where I've been asked to come in and consult where I haven't been really excited to help them out with it. Everybody's projects are super interesting. The thing that I really like so much about ILiADS, the project-based nature of the work, it can be really hard when you're in the stages that a lot of these projects are in, and especially when you're at a small place that maybe doesn't have like a huge community and a ton of resources, sometimes you really just need someone who's maybe just a little bit further ahead on the learning curve than you. I mean, maybe a lot, but maybe just a little, to like sit down and help you work through that thing. And you need time away from all the other demands of your everyday office stuff where no one's going to like poke their head in and need to pull you into a meeting or whatever, so that you can just concentrate on the work. And that's really hard to get if you can't come to something like this. And so those things have been great, and I have been doing some thinking about, in particular, how to get more undergrads and faculty involved as partners at my institution. It seems like there are a lot of undergrad projects that are supported by faculty and supported by some of the like DH nodes on campus, and there are faculty projects, but I don't see teams that feel as integrated necessarily. And some of this may be that it's totally happening and I just haven't like stumbled across it yet, but I haven't stumbled across it yet, and I think there's a lot of really great benefits both for students and for faculty in this kind of model. And so I'm really hoping to figure out how to start getting more people to do that in my own institution.
Do you have ideas of how those integrated teams might, how that might happen, or what that might look like?
That, I'm not sure yet. I do know who I can ask about that, but I think some of that will depend on like the really basic infrastructure, like how are we, like how big are our classes, how, like what's the opportunity to work together between semesters like, what are the funding opportunities for undergraduate research, and then what do we have, like a capstone model or some other student research project. I don't even know what you call that, but where you're able to like set aside time and possibly get some funding in a way that's distinct from like I'm doing research in a class, or like I'm just pursuing this because I care about it a lot, something official that you can apply for. And there must be opportunities like that, and I haven't found them yet. So we'll see.
We talked a little bit about like what you would hope for your institution.
Mm-hmm.
What do you hope the future of ILiADS is? Are there things that you saw this year that you absolutely want to continue on? Things that could be improved? With the hope that this continues, what do you think? What do you think form it should take?
Well, I do very much hope it continues. I really liked one of the ideas that got floated way back at the beginning, at the early, the sort of pre-ILiADS discussion about figuring out how to integrate this with like the under UNRH. I would really like to see, I think it's already happening and it's been happening implicitly, and I think everyone wants to pivot it, I think, towards really explicitly figuring out how to support undergrads and post-bacs. Because a lot of us who are doing this work now, I think either probably feel like in some ways we got lucky professionally, or we had to struggle a lot, or maybe both, in order to like find our feet and find a place, find a job, and so that we can continue to do this work, which I think we all think is really important. And I think many of us are really invested in how do we create some infrastructure so that people who are coming up now don't have to struggle so much maybe as we did, or don't have to feel like it was pretty much, like luck and being in the right place at the right time for a job, and being interested in it. I mean, there's always going to be some serendipity, but if we can create a little bit more structure, especially because I think there's a lot of undergrads who, like, until they get lucky and stumble into the right class, if you don't have any exposure to DH, why would you know that this all exists? And it's easy to not have any exposure to that, I think, as an undergrad. I certainly didn't. And so you don't know that there's this whole like world of really cool, fantastic, important scholarship happening and all these cool collaborations. And so I think having more infrastructure would also potentially help more undergrads get exposed to it, which would be great. So I hope for that. The other thing I hope, honestly, is just that the really fantastic and warm and helpful community of practice continues to be, continues to exist, continues to have a place to meet, and I think continues to be like nourished and supported this way. I really noticed it a lot last year that this was a really wonderful community, and I don't know, it seems like it's even better this year, and it could just be, my memory, but from almost the first day, the ability and willingness of people to just jump into each other's rooms and put their heads together and share their knowledge and their expertise is really stunning and touching and wonderful. And I just hope that this continues so that people continue to have a place to do this work together.